Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to tonight's webinar. We are here tonight with Jake Guggenheimer, who's with the Wabakimi Provincial Park. And he's here tonight to talk to us about another volunteer opportunity that we'll hope you'll consider for next summer. And it is the Shultz Trail cleanup. So Jake, I'm just gonna let you dive right in.
Yeah, thank you. Let me get my slideshow up here. Boop, 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 boop. And then let me share it with you folks. All right. Thumbs up in the chat if we can see my Schultz's trail or awesome. Thank
Yes,
you,
very
MJ.
nice.
Um, okay, so yeah. Thanks for coming to the webinar here, folks. Like MJ said, my name's Jake. I'm the operations technician at the Wabakimi cluster of parks. Wabakimi, everyone's favorite non-operating parks like Kopka River and Bright Sand, they all fall under our jurisdiction. I've been working for parks for, gosh, what is this? The end of my 6th season right now. In campgrounds for a bit of them. And the last 2 seasons I've been working at Wabakimi, which has been an awesome opportunity. It's brought me all over the place. Um, yeah, so this is one of many efforts that you folks and the friends have, fundraised for and helped out with. So I just like to shout some of those out first because they're super important. We appreciate them. So a few years back, I think, you folks, fundraised and were able to let us purchase some song meters and donated them to the park. So every season in, early June, we're out there in the thick of the black fly setting up song meters like my colleague Graham in the picture there. And they are recording bird song, and I think you can use some of them for bats as well. And they're helping contribute to our own database and other initiatives across the province, like the Ontario Breeding Bird Atlas. And I'm looking forward to going out and getting swarmed by them, by black flies again, and putting them up this year, because it's the final push for that initiative. So they've been put to good use over the past couple of years. This past summer, myself and Evan cleaned up Shubusquia Lake. There's a lot of internal debate on the proper pronunciation of that, but that's how I'm going to say it. And yeah, it's at the far north of the park. There's not a whole lot going up there, but I think it was flagged by Friends of Wabakimi on an older canoe trip that they had found a dump site. So they dropped a pin and sent us on our way, and Friends of Wabakimi was able to fund a flight for us up there to clean up a bunch of junk. We had a few boat trips to do, and there was an old mattress, there was a wood stove, a lot of just garbage from I'm assuming it was from before this area of the park was a park, because it is in the expanded area that was in the late 90s. So there's a bunch of old junk, but we got it nice and cleaned up to that kind of third picture there. That was just covered with bottles and glass and buckets and crazy stuff. So, if you do donate, it's going to a good cause, and we're helping make the park a better place. And of course, our extra human hours, because making Wabakimi a nice place to paddle, wilderness and remote, it still takes a lot of work. Countless thousands of kilometers of canoe routes means a lot of portages to cut. Last year we had a lot of big fires on some popular routes. So I mean, there's a nice shot of me using a chainsaw. And we'll be trying to maintain some of those recently impacted routes for many years to come as all the new growth is coming up. So whether it's me or our canoe rangers who get hired on for the summer, yeah, more work is getting done all because of you folks. So thank you. Now, the meat and potatoes of this presentation is the Shultz's Trail access point. Um, so if you're imagining your beautiful map of Wabakimi, which will be up in a second, it's at milepost 24.7 after you hop on the train from Armstrong, right on the access to Onamakawash Lake. I believe it was in 2006 that this cabin was abandoned. It was some sort of old outpost camp or um, something like that. There's a whole bunch of buildings on the bay. Um, I'm not exactly sure what they all used to be for, possibly like uh, from the logging history in the area, but now I think they're all or mostly private recreation camps that people just go and live in, except for the one we're trying to clean up because despite garbage being removed over the past couple of years, bits and pieces, there's a lot of things that can't be taken out on the train. Um, and yeah, I'll talk about more that in a second. But yeah, so if you hop on the train from Armstrong on the far right of the screen here, it's about a 40-minute train ride. You know, you just pass Collins and then um, I don't know if anyone can see my mouse on the screen. But right here at the 24.7 mark is where we're going. Um, right there. Oh, nice. I had an animation in there. It's a great spot for self-guided canoe trips. Like it's an important access to Wabakimi. If you head south down onto Schwannabis Lake, you know you can hit up the Kopka River and get some of the best paddling on that section of the Kopka. Beautiful waterfalls and all that. Or you can go north up on a Onamakawash, do you know, a short little loop up and around Chipmunk area or start a longer expedition. But it's a really great access with options, you know, to spider out all over the park. It's pretty centralized. Um, but yeah, despite being, you know, a pretty hot spot, it currently looks a little junky. Um, so I think there's two or three kind of cabins slash outbuildings on the site. Um, as you can see, there's a lot of uh, oil barrels and gas cans and just stuff that the train probably wouldn't want us taking out, and it's kind of hard to move all of that stuff. I'm unsure of how if there's anything in all of those oil barrels or not, so that's going to be something we get to deal with in the moment. Um, but yeah, a bunch of junk inside the cabin. It's like a pretty nice cabin if it wasn't for all the you know, bits and pieces around. Um, so yeah, it's pretty junky and we'd like to clean it up. I think it was Vern was saying on a call when we were planning this. He said everyone who goes by there says, "Wow, this is pretty junky. Someone should do something about this." And that's been going on by everyone for years, and now we're doing something about it. So that's a good time. Um, but yeah, so there's a little dock there, and that's the inside of the boathouse there. Uh, I the best pictures I could find were from 2010. I don't think too much has changed since then. Some of the stuff might be gone. There might not be a motor there anymore, but there's still plenty of garbage to clean up. Um, so yeah, what we're looking for are volunteers to come into the park. We're gonna train in, and you're gonna assist the cleanup of Schultz's Trail. I think Friends of Wabakimi are also looking for donations, but I can let someone from Friends of Wabakimi talk more about that later. Um, but yeah, come join us. Come have a fun little trip to the park. The dates we're looking at are in July of this coming year, so 2025. It'll be here sooner than we know it. Um, yeah, like I said, we'll leave from the train station in Armstrong on a Monday and then hop back out on the train back to Armstrong on the following Thursday. Um, 1 to 2 park staff, myself included, will be on the ground, kind of directing and helping out the cleanup efforts. we won't just be pointing and telling you where to go. We're going to be, right there with you. And then anywhere from 3 to 4 volunteers to help clean up the site, help shuttle garbage to an off-site location from Schultz's Trail landing to get everything staged for a flight. But yeah, so you got to get to Armstrong on your own. If you are interested in being one of our wonderful volunteers, um, and friends might have more to say on this afterwards, but essentially we're saying get to Armstrong for the date that I mentioned earlier, and then we'll all head in together. Um, it's a lovely little 40-minute train ride. I'm saying around 2.5 days of work um, that'll be provided because the train, if you've ever taken the train into the park, it's pretty, it's not very reliable as far as the scheduling goes. You'll get there, but who knows when. Um, so yeah, assuming we have at least a Tuesday and a Wednesday of full days, and then, probably the day that we get in, it's July, so it's going to be bright until 10 p.m. at least. Um, so that's where the 0.5 comes in. But yeah, the park will just buy up all the tickets that we need for volunteers and staff. And yeah, if you wanted to either start or finish a trip, starting would probably be a little easier with that. You're more than welcome to do that on your own, of your own accord. You'll have to buy a spot for your canoe on the train if you are going to go off on your own after the cleanup initiative. But that's, yeah, there's plenty of time to decide that. Um, sorry, I'm just going to throw my cat out of here. She is wanting to be pet. Um, Yeah, of course, you got to bring your own, tent and sleeping bag and bring a life jacket, all the personal stuff and food that you would need for 4 days. Make sure to bring it. There's plenty of space for everyone to set up and have their um, own area at the trail. Um, yeah, there's lots of daylight in July. So after our workday is done and we've done a few trips to the rendezvous site for the plane, we can go explore. There's some excellent places around that area, so I've heard, and I for one haven't been there, but I'm looking forward to branching out. Um, Myself and whoever my colleague is will bring bug shelters, at least 2 canoes to actually paddle some stuff. The paddles, maybe motors, so we can zip a little quicker with all the junk. We might have to sneak those onto the train, but I won't tell if you don't. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of bring your own personal gear, and then group stuff and stuff related to the actual cleanup will be on the park. For folks who are interested, we'll definitely be working on more exact packing lists and everything in the spring when we have volunteers and dates are set. Um, but yeah, if you're interested, it's going to be on a first come, first serve basis. Um, Send an email showing interest. I don't know if Vern actually wants some of these emails. I'm assuming he does, but my manager, the acting superintendent of the park, Shane Lipset Fraser, um, my other colleague, Evan McCall, who's the assistant park super, and Vern. You can also throw me in there. I'm off for most of the winter coming soon, so I might not get your email, but these guys will be working. Um, and yeah, anyways, I said it was going to be a quick one. So I hope that was okay.
No,
If you have some
that's
questions,
outstanding, Jake. Yeah,
ask now
let
if you
me
need any
ask
clarification.
a couple questions if I can. This is Vern, and I
Yeah.
apologize, I don't have a working camera. You
Okay.
said 3 to 4. What if we came up with 8 to 12 people? Could we put that many people to work?
Uh, I think that might be excessive because we're going to be limited by canoes possibly as well. How many we can bring in on the train. Um, but I mean, I'm sure if people wanted to come and hang out and have a little hang session in the park, we get everything bagged up and shuttled over in a day, and then we can all take turns. And if people, yeah, I mean, we'll see the interest. We can try and make it work. I'm open to anything.
And,
But the
well,
ideal numbers I think are probably max 6 to 8.
okay. I think we're gonna get, I'm assuming we'll get some interest on this. Are we
Yeah,
also limited
so
by the number of train tickets available?
train tickets, no. Um,
Okay,
they're fairly cheap. It's more of just the actual like even luggage is fine, I think, but the canoe space. So we can't I don't know if I actually explained why we're flying it out. You can't take things on the train and we have to shuttle it to another location because the bay is a little too small for a plane to land in right at Schultz's trail. So that's where the extra shuttling comes in. It's a bit of a headache, but yeah, if we want to get it cleaned up, something we got to do.
okay. Well, one of the things that, we're part of the fundraising, we may be able to help cover some of the additional costs of the tickets if we have more people than, more than four, we may be able to help cover that. And then the other thing I will throw out is that the Friends of Wabakimi will probably have a sign up place on our webpage, and I can let MJ talk in more detail about that. Um, but the other piece of this is that, oh God, I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to read Dave McTeague's email. That's always a mistake trying to follow. We have to cover ourselves from a liability standpoint. So we're going to have you probably answer some questions and maybe do a little bit of extra work, very similar to what we've done with the Caribou project, where you have to be able to show that you have certain skills and X, Y, and Z. And
Mhm.
MJ could probably add to that in more detail, but we're still in the process of working out what we have to do so that you can volunteer under our banner. And if you get hurt, we're covered and have done the due diligence. So MJ, would you want to try and take a swing at that, recognizing that we haven't got that detail worked out yet?
I
Oh,
think you're muted,
you're on mute,
MJ. There
MJ.
you go.
Working on it. Um, yeah, actually, I don't have a lot to add to that, Vern, because we just haven't gotten together to tackle it just yet. But yeah, I think we were going to run people through the kind of a application process like we did with the Caribou Project a bit, so that we have, one gathering space for the information. And we can check out, what skills people have to add to that effort. So, so stay tuned. We'll have that in place, before long. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jake, originally you came to us and asked for $7,500, which, as I understand it, that would have covered 3 flights. And then we actually put a fundraising goal of 10. And so if we reach our goal, we may be able to help offset some of those additional costs of having a larger group. And with that
Mhm.
said, if Dave is on the call, he had a very specific question. He wanted to know who Mr. Shultz was. And was the property part of the park originally, or has the park reassumed the management of the property? How did this area end up being covered with cabins and then abandoned?
Yeah, so that's something that I've been talking and trying to find some info out with the other park staff in the area. And I'm just looking, Dave's got a few questions in the chat, so I'll cover them all in my little rant here. Um, yeah, the history of the site, I don't know in certain terms. From what we're guessing, it may have been like like a rail worker slash forestry kind of, um, not a town exactly, but like a station, like a little spot for workers to live at. That eventually kind of turned into little summer camps and stuff like that after all the work was done. And Shultz, I think, was just the dude who owned that cabin in particular. I don't know too much about the man himself, but I know that in 2006, after he either passed away or was just kind of done with the property, um, the crown, so Wabakimi, would have taken up the responsibility of the that site. The other cabins at like on that little bay are either going to be like private land, like little parcels in like surrounded by park completely, or they're going to be something we call a land use permit. Ooh, Bruce knows. Bruce knows a lot. Shultz was from Ohio. He applied and got an LUP, and he has passed away. Um, okay. And it never was a stop except for a few tourists. Okay. Solo and his wife. He was an indigenous man. Okay. Thank you for the information, Bruce. Like I said, we were just speculating. Michael, you got a hand up. Oh, maybe not. Sojo. Bruce, I'm not sure what Sogo is or Sojo. Um,
The name of,
but oh, gotcha.
Can I say a few words? Bruce here.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce. Thank you. Your wealth of knowledge.
So I lived on Sharonda, south of Shultz's Trail, all by myself, from 76 to 78. And the only year-round resident there was Sogo, S-O-G-O. And nice man and his wife. She spoke no English at all. And we went trapping and hunting and fishing together. And Shultz was kind of a crotchety old guy from Ohio. And he used to lend that camp or rent it to guys to go fishing. There never was an M&R base or logging base there.
Okay.
All those cabins were built by Sogo.
Oh, okay.
And they underpaid them, paid them peanuts. And so there was a time where anybody, Canadian or American, could pay $1,000 and apply for, I don't remember the size, maybe it was an acre of land from the Crown, Ontario Crown, and they give it to you. And no Canadians did it. Interesting, but a whole bunch of Yankees did. So all those other cabins there cost them $1,000 in a survey. And then they've been hanging out there and fishing for decades since. Most of them are aging out now, but they are private land and they own them. Now, the other comment I wanted to make was I have a fairly sumptuous flying and training outpost on Sharonibus. It's about a mile south of the tracks. So I'm willing to not rent it for that time period if it would be helpful to you for volunteers to stay there. It would be easy for at least 8, maybe a dozen, but certainly 8 people to stay there. Cooking facilities, beds, dock, motorboats. You could borrow the motorboats and boats down to the tracks. And you also could, using the motorboats, bring all that trash to my dock down on Sharonibus and fly it out from there. So it wouldn't be very hard. So you can talk about that and think about that, but I'm sure that we can make that cabin available. And,
Okay.
and if you have trouble getting enough canoes in, we can probably get some of ours in there to lend to you.
That's a very generous offer, Bruce. Thank you. I don't know if any of my colleagues are on the call with us today, but I will definitely bring that up because that, to me, that sounds like a great idea.
Well, if guys are working hard all day cleaning up messes, sure they could tent and camp, but it might be nice to have a bed in the kitchen and
Yeah.
all the cooking stuff and that barbecue
Absolutely.
and get a good night's sleep. And so I could ask my staff to not work it for that time period and let us know if that's helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll definitely be in touch with you.
Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah,
Jake,
thank you for the history too. Sorry,
Jake, I
go
have
ahead, Mary
two
Jane.
other questions here. What kinds of equipment would the volunteers be asked to use, and will the cabins be removed or left for future travelers' use?
Yeah, so for equipment, most if anything, hand tools. We'll have a bunch of work gloves and stuff like that. It's mostly just bagging and lifting stuff and the physical paddling. We're not taking down any cabins, I will say that. Um, so they will be still around. I don't know if they'll be left for travelers' use. Like they might be locked or something like that, or bridge for us, or like a little ranger base or something like that. It's up in the air, but the cabins will not be removed. It's just all the garbage within and without the cabin that we're going to be um, getting rid of. But yeah, I guess other equipment, know how to paddle and or use a motorboat are assets. Um, and I don't know if anything's going to be buried, but maybe a shovel. Who knows? But yeah, nothing crazy. No like power tools or chainsaws or anything like that. So it's yeah, no super specific skills needed.
Jake,
Uh,
one more comment, if Bruce may.
yeah.
So, in the narrows between that bay and Onamakawash Lake, there is a dump. And at one
Ooh.
time, that dump was illegal. And I complained about it because we have always flown out all of our garbage from Surroundibus, every ounce, unless it was organic, compostable, or burnable. And so, long story short, disappointingly, MNR or MNR legalized that dump.
Mm.
So it's over by the dock in the Narrows over there. And I realize it's not in the scope of your present project. It's a pretty big dump. But someday it might be nice to clean it up
Yeah.
and then change the rules so that the guys have to have those cabins. They fly in and out, and they could easily bring their garbage out. So I'm
Yeah.
hopeful someday that illegal, now legal, maybe it could be ended, dump could be remediated.
Yeah, that's definitely a spot of interest. I wasn't personally aware of that. But yeah, heck, if we get 12 people and have boats, then maybe we can clean some of that up too. Or at least
I
bring
was
it
going to
up.
say, Jake, we might be able to recruit enough people to take that project on if it's
Yeah.
within the scope of your responsibility and if it's
Mhm.
within the scope of our abilities.
Yeah, I would definitely have to check if it's a parcel of land in the park or if it is its own little, you know, parcel that is just for a dump. And we'd have to be talking to some people in the M&R about it if it is a regulated spot. But yeah, it's definitely a process we can start. Uh, the sooner the better, in my opinion. Um,
It It also appears that Dave is worried about the cabin on the west side, really bad shape. I'm I guess I'm assuming he's wanting to know, are we gonna try and mitigate some of those that go with a falling cabin that's failing?
Um, that's a big TBD, to be determined. We'll definitely, uh, with that in mind, like as we're out in the park and on site, take a good inventory of some of the other cabins that are in on park land. Um, and check in with LUPs and stuff because it might be time to if people don't have LUPs and they're just truly abandoned cabins, then it might be a current or a future project, or at least boarding up some windows or something like that. And yes, you're right, Dave. It would be important to let folks know that we are going into that bay to do the work that we are talking about right now. We'll try and let everyone know. If they have an LUP, we definitely have their contact info somewhere. So it's another winter project for myself.
And just to dive, if I can, Jake, just to dive into the details just a little bit more, because the trains run, basically they go west and east on Thursday. We're gonna have to go out on Monday, which means people are gonna have to be there on a Sunday. So we need to plan that accordingly. And I believe that Bruce was going to make room for us at his castle there at Armstrong on Sunday night, and we'll have to coordinate that with Bruce. So this is not one of those things where if you just show up, we're going to find a place for you. We're definitely going to need to have you sign up. You're going to need to be there on Sunday night, and recognizing that you'll come out on Thursday unless you plan to go paddling somewhere else. So there are some
mhm.
more details that need to be worked out. It sounds like the scope of the work might get a little bigger, and if Bruce is offering his a castle on the Riviera, we might be able to run two projects at the same time, so we would need the labor. I will also note that Dave gave us an update on the cash flow, and we're at about 6,700, which is dangerously close to covering the 3 flights that you estimated would take the whole the debris out, which then means we're working on those additional costs or any other incidentals that may come up in the course of the project. So we're still needing money, and at some point we'll have something up on the website so we can recruit volunteers. With that, I'll sit back and be quiet and let Jake finish or take more questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that we'll definitely have to figure out. I haven't set a date yet, but just trying to gauge interest here. We'll definitely have like a deadline that hopefully you folks can send out to the membership or like a registration of sorts. And once we have numbers and then we can kind of coordinate how many people are showing up and where we'll stay before. We have we've got a trailer and like some property just south of Armstrong, kind of in between Bruce's and our spot or in and the town, that we could host some people on potentially as well. But yeah, we do have more planning to do over the coming couple months here. Um, and Dave, I love the idea of putting some signs up. I know that Wabakimi has a couple of signs, and we can bolt some stuff up, or maybe even design some over the winter. That should be a quick enough turnaround time to get them for July. Because yeah, it's always good to let people know that they're entering the park and that that's kind of like a sanctioned access point.
Bruce said, Bruce said, I run our offer, and that is on that Sunday night before train time. Anybody that wants to camp at our place on Wabakish Lake, Red Lot's property, and use the outhouse and get coffee and breakfast for free. We'd be happy to do that if anybody wants to attend the night before train time.
Wonderful. Generosity knows no bounds, Bruce. Thank you.
So Jake, if somebody wants to come from Manitoba, on the earlier the week before that Monday, can they just meet at the train stop on Monday?
I suppose so, knowing that I'm not sure what the schedule of the train is coming from the west. And if you're willing to, hang on site at your own risk and with your own food, then you're more than welcome to be the welcoming party for us, hopping off the train from Armstrong. Just
And the
remember the
only thing I would
milepost
add to
number.
that, if that's the case, we definitely want to know who you are, and you'd still have to go through our hoops to be a volunteer, but we would definitely need to
Absolutely.
know what your travel plans are.
Yeah, don't just show up. Definitely register and let us know. And yeah, good point, Vern.
So, Jake, earlier you had a slide that said to email, if you had interest, maybe
I can pop my
ask-
email in the chat too.
yeah, maybe maybe replace those emails with, or let Shane and Evan know that that if they do get contacted, that people need to be looking for whatever link we'll have on our website that will take them to the application process.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and Dave continues to bring up good points. Canadians, if you donate to Ontario Park via Canadian Harps, you get Canadian Helps, you get a charitable donation credit. And if you're on our side, on the south side of the border, we just get a big hearty thank you. But you do get a break on your taxes if you go through the Ontario Parks website. And we will give you credit for that because we're tracking those donations as they come in.
Okay.
You know, Jake, this thing is dangerously close to coming together. It was just a wild idea in July. And I think you may end up with more help than you know what to do with.
The more the merrier, as I always say. Yeah, but that's about it for me, unless there are any more questions from viewers or anything Vern or MJ or Brian want to clarify, then that's all I've got
All right, Jake, we
for
look
now.
forward to working with you. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough, I have had a chance to spend a little time with Jake, and I think this would be quality time hauling garbage. My goal is to be one of the Friends of Wabakimi representatives there, if I can make that all work. But we will definitely be putting together an application form that will link on our website. You'll see more information at the outdoor adventure shows that we're going to be participating in, which includes on the US side, the Quiet Adventures Symposium in Lansing, Canoeopia in Madison. We're also going to be at the Toronto Outdoor Adventure Show, the Hamilton Show, and I believe we're going to be in Ottawa. So there'll be numerous opportunities to talk to us at some of these outdoor adventure shows on both sides of the border. And by then we should have the details worked out and probably a little flyer or handout that we can give you to help you in your process. So with that, MJ, you got some other thoughts you want to throw in here?
No, but thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you, Jake, for your presentation and answering our many questions.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And thank you
Thanks
to
for having me.
Bruce for all the help he's offered.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
thank you. I guess I can stop sharing my screen now.